I've known Luis for like 20 years. We lived in Buenos Aires in the same neighborhood when we were younger. He's been always a very personal, special guy, always roaming about. He really knows Buenos Aires and the nightlife and the hidden side of the city. So he's always been surrounded by very, special characters, and I think that that's a big part of his inspiration. We made a film 10 years ago with very little money and very radical spirit. It's hard to talk about his films. Some are very, way more experimental than this. Then he did El Ángel, which was like the most pop, easy to understand, most, I would say, more mainstreamy in a way. And then he did this film that keeps some of the pop elements of El Ángel, but also coming back to his first films. Inspiration of this film, he met this random guy again in Buenos Aires from Sebastopol. He was wearing a high-heel shoe and a Crocs on the other shoe, wearing on the foot, wearing a fur coat, a purse, and full of little metal things that he would collect from the streets of Buenos Aires. And Luis, of course, got very attracted and curious by this guy. So he asked this guy, where was he from? And this guy said, to make it easy and not confuse you, I took a plane. And then Luis started following this guy along the streets of Buenos Aires, and he would get in every pharmacy and he would weigh himself. And he would go from one pharmacy to the next, and to the next, and to the next. And then at one point, Luis goes back to him, and he's like, hey, what's going on? You're going in every pharmacy. I'm weighing myself, but I weigh nothing. And I feel that somebody is following me. Yeah, I am following you. So this guy was like this super paranoid guy, and Luis got very inspired by this guy and said, okay, do you want to play in a film? He hadn't even written the film. And the guy said, no, acting is a stupid job. And then Luis started going to see the horse races at the Hipódromo. I don't know how you call that place where horses run. And then he had the idea of, okay, maybe this guy wandering in the streets of Buenos Aires is a jockey that had an accident. And then that's the way Luis writes scripts. He's always putting very strange pieces together. And then the last part of the film, in which Remo becomes Dolores, was a scene that I read 3 weeks before starting to shoot. One night he had that image of Remo becoming Dolores, and he was like, oh, maybe this is too extreme. Okay, I really like the idea of losing identity, of transmutation, but maybe this is too much. Am I gonna... And then right away he gets a photo from his brother, all dressed up like a woman. And he was like, okay, this is a signal. So that you get an idea of how the creative process, that Luis undertakes is very chaotic, but very logical at the same time, because he's not forcing anything. He's really following, these energies that come across his path.
A dream logic, in a way.
Which is a logic.
Yeah. How had the film ended before? Before this Dolores scene that you mentioned?
He was Remo still, or Watermelon Head, as we call him.
Complimentary.
And he was... I remember that I read 3 versions of the script. The second one, he was in the jail, and he was also outside. Because this guy from Sebastopol, Luis kept seeing him over and over again in Buenos Aires, but strangely, he was always in very different places and very distant places. And Luis was like, this is impossible. This guy was before in San Telmo, which is a neighborhood that is an hour away from Saavedra, and then he would go to Saavedra, and he would see him again. So he had this idea of doubling. So at one point, the script was Watermelon Head was in the prison, and he was also outside. And it was everything about this doubling thing. And then the mother or Dolores appeared, and then the idea of like being reborn in his own child was a very final decision that he made, like maybe 2 months before shooting. Yeah, and he also co-wrote this with Fabián Casas and Rodolfo Palacios, and both guys are really good writers. Like one is a very famous writer in Argentina, and Rodolfo is very creative. So I think they made like a nice, good, inspiring family.
I also wanted to ask you about the woman who plays Nina. Is that her? She's called Nina?
Abril? My partner? No.
Yeah, in the film. In the
Is she
woman
called Nina?
jockey.
No.
She's called
Abril. Nena, because they...
Nena.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nena.
okay. All right,
girl.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, Abril.
Yeah.
The
Abril.
character played by
Yes.
Ursula, the Spanish girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Can you say something about her? Because your interaction, I think, is fantastic, beginning with the dance, which I assume was improvised?
Thank you. It was improvised, yeah. We rehearsed a bit, but we didn't choreograph the dance. So it was just, we were rehearsing. Actually, that was the only actual physical rehearsal that we made in the whole film. We just had one big table reading, and then the only physical rehearsal was with Ursula, and Ursula with Mariana for the other dance in the changing room. Yeah, but it was more, well, we worked with a dancer, performer, amazing guy from Buenos Aires, Manuel Atuel. But it was more about, being open and willing to find something on set. And maybe we were including some little movements that Luis was, do this, or do this. But it was very, instinctive, I would say.
Did he tell you much about the meaning of the film?
Nothing.
And were you ever curious about it?
Never.
Still not. Yeah, I mean, when you were up at the beginning, you mentioned like discouraging our search for understanding, or something
It would
like
be
that.
so limiting, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, human experience is so complex and so hard to explain. I don't try to find logics or explanations, but the body knows what it's doing in a way. But I mean, I'm saying this, but Luis has like a notebook full of notes. And once we were shooting, and I saw that, and it was Remo, and it was like this big text, very philosophical. And I was like, oh, this guy's hiding things from me. Like, we're making a film. You should share those things with me. And he was like, you know everything. So I don't know. We never talk about what we are doing. We talk about many things that are around the film. We evoke, maybe we make jokes, but we never really talk about what we are actually doing. We don't like ideas. We don't like messages.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good
We being
thing.
actors, or
Huh?
we being actors, or you and Luis?
No, me and Luis.
Yeah.
And with the actors either. No, we don't really talk. Luis is very much about doing, and I think that what he creates on the set is so magical and so inspiring that if you said so many things about what we are doing, you would kill it in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
sure.
we start dancing, we
Yeah,
start playing, and then he starts to like maybe give some input, adjust something here and there. And also in this film, we had the light, the cinematography by Timo Salminen. I don't know if you know that guy that worked with Kaurismäki. So it was very inspiring. You would get on the set, and like the light was very special.
Yeah.
It was like vibrant.
Yeah.
It was very lucid. There was something about playing in the film that was like a lucid dream in a way. So everything was possible. You wouldn't judge, the scene through the eyes of psychology or logic. You would just feel it.
Good. So, talking about the things that you were doing, in terms of your performance, I mean, it's so multi-layered because you've got this comic element, this tragic element, and this gender element, and costume and action and stillness. I mean, how did you wrap yourself around all this?
How to explain that?
That's the question.
I don't know if I want to explain that to myself,
Okay.
because if you explain things so much, then the kitchen gets like too boring. But I would say that it was very artisanal, it was very like piece by piece, and it was a discovery every single day. Like when I say that we never rehearsed Dolores, we never rehearsed any of the characters. I did lots of fittings and makeup and until we found something. So I think that also by doing so, it was a way of inhabiting the different masks, but without choosing actually something. That's a very hard question.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I can explain something. We had ideas, we had some, maybe not references, but there's this famous Argentinian musician who's very like Remo in the beginning, so I listened to a podcast in which he would, talk about his life, and that was inspiring. So we had many different inputs. And then when I was Watermelon Head, we were thinking that he was like this posh woman from Recoleta, which is a posh neighborhood in Buenos Aires, going to the mall and buy things. So even though it might be like existential or metaphysical, sometimes what keeps you busy when you're playing are like very silly things, that you just need to embody the situation. Mm-hmm. And stillness, that's a big thing. You're right. It was very much like doing sculpture in a way, this film, at some moments, like acting, and then at one point it was just like doing volume and light and, so many marks. So it was very technical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As I watched it, I mean, I kept flashing between the great poles, I suppose, of Chaplin and Keaton, and tragedy and comedy and slapstick and the stony face, in what you were doing.
Yeah, we never thought about that,
yeah.
But it's in the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, all those things live, within ourselves. So of course that they will appear and they will dialogue with the process, but without saying the reference is. Do it more, Keaton. Ugh.
Yeah. Okay.
That would kill it.
Okay.
Mystery is so important.
Yeah, there's the cinephile in me that has references, but I won't mention any of them at all.
I see them too now, but not during the process.
I imagine there's some questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. There's a couple microphones floating around.
May I?
Please.
First of all, thank you. What an incredible performance. I wanted to ask how much time you had from first hearing of the idea, hearing of the making of the movie, towards active preparation, towards shooting, because it seems like there's so many layers in there for your performance, which I won't ask about. But how long have you worked on this character?
Not so much. 2018 was the first time that Luis asked me for a photo of myself, and then he sends back this drawing with that same photo, but with the watermelon head. So he had an idea. And I was like, yeah, you imagine me like that. That's inspiring. And Luis knows me very well, so I think that everything, all the steps that I described before about how the character evolved in the writing, that's what Luis says. He wrote it because he knew that it was me that it was going to play the character. So I think that there's something that was like auto-inspiring, ourselves. And every step that he sent me of the writing process, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Yeah, nothing really felt strange. I say this so that you understand that the leap between, myself and those characters wasn't so far away. Even though when you see the film, you're like, oh, that's far away. But we were not trying to find something that was very far away. We were just trying to get naked in a way and find the woman that lives in me, find this sort of wanderer, guru, whatever he is, finding that. So we didn't rehearse. We read the script many times while cooking, while smoking a joint, while, we would open up the script, but we were never really fixing things. And then I trained, of course, horse riding, and then we shot the film.
Or did you train on the machine that shows you horse riding.
No, with a real horse. Oh no, but not on the belt. No, it was real, and it's a very special way of riding because your butt doesn't touch, the horse, so your legs really burn, and that was very important for the way that Remo walks and how the weight and I hang out with the jockeys as well in Buenos Aires, and they are very special people. Yeah, adrenaline like junkies.
Another question?
I wish I could give you more details about the craft.
I
keep
can't
think-
see hands. It's just because I can't see
I
it.
have a question here. I'm here. I was wondering more about the jockey culture. Are they really that sort of athletic and bendable? Do they do all of those? Does it look like that in the jockey wardrobe, or is it just for the movie?
You mean the girls?
Yes.
I have no idea. But I'd rather think that they are like that, right? I want to believe in magic. No, I don't know. Male jockeys are very junkies. Like they can throw up, to lose weight. They can go on a party tour for 3 days. They don't drink any water and they run for an hour wearing a plastic coat so that they sweat so much that they lose weight, and then they run completely dehydrated. Yeah, it's intense. And then they eat and they drink back what they lost before, because it's if you are 1 kilogram, above the limit, you can't run. So it's very the body is a big element. But the girls, I don't know if they're flexible. I guess.
When you answered this person's question, I wanted to ask you, then were there many takes?
Many.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, many. Luis would never stop if he could. He's very everything gets into this sort of spiral, and sometimes we're talking about things that we don't even understand. We don't even talk sometimes. We keep doing things just by understanding with, our eyes. What's the little touch that we had to modify.
When did you shoot it?
Last year in March.
And it's been released in
Now in Venice in
a couple
September.
months ago. Yeah.
August. Yeah.
Okay. So it hasn't been released anywhere yet?
Oh, and then theatrical, yeah, Buenos Aires. And Mexico coming up in December, Spain also coming up, Germany, Italy.
Great.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been sold in many
Good,
countries.
good.
Yeah.
More questions?
It's a little late. Yeah. There.
Yeah.
Feel free to leave. You don't have to stay here if you want to go eat, drink, or sleep.
Hello, I do have a question, but I can be second.
You can be the first.
Or first, okay.
It's the
thought it
same.
was one. Thank you so much for the movie. I was thinking about the man, the fatherly figure with those many babies. Can you tell us a little more about it? Why did he have so many babies surrounding him?
When he wrote the script, he wasn't a father, and then when we shot the film, he was a father.
Okay.
So I think that, fatherhood was a big deal at that time.
It just spilled out into the movie.
Yeah, it was inevitable. And Luis also talks about kids and babies as this very, clear, lucid way of witnessing and experiencing the world. So maybe there's something about that as well. And now he's fully in love with his kid, and he keeps talking about him. He's been obsessed with babies for 10 years though, because the first film we shot, we also had babies, and we were always talking about the idea of having babies, and what if your baby becomes a motherfucker? And those ideas of how is it to raise a person? How much can you do so that that person is a good person? And this thing of evolution, identity, and where the character gets built in a way. And also because the film is about rebirth as well. So I guess that the whole process of the film is that dissolution all the way back to becoming a baby again. But they never grow up in the film. Some people say that he raises the babies and then they become the jockeys. There are many theories about this film. This pedophile sort of mafia, some people say. Everything could be.
There was another one?
Yeah, I got two questions actually. The first one, I felt there was a lot of symbolism and a lot of things not being said or shown in the movie. But in my interpretation, death itself manifests as a person, and I wonder why this, if you know or if I misinterpreted, why this happens. And the second one is, have you had a chance to meet the guy from Sebastopol?
No, second. I saw a photo. It manifests into a person, you said? In the film? What character? The mysterious. Yeah. It's hard to talk about this film, like to look for explanations, you know, because I have nothing to say in the sense of maybe your theory or what you feel about the film is great, and there's not, what I want to say is that there's no hidden message. There's not something that, did you get it? You didn't? Okay, watch it again. No. You can watch it again, though. Some people watch it again and then they discover new things, which is nice about the film. But I think that that's the film. That sort of unseizable, I don't know if we say that in English, that sort of hard to seize thing is what the film also proposes, right? Like the idea of losing the identity, of losing the character that we were, you know, thrown upon us. And the idea of not knowing, right? That's in the end, I think that the guy says, nobody knows. Almost looking at the audience. I really like that shot. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Nobody knows, right? He looks at us. So yeah, the film is about that. But there's no message or explanation.
Okay, I think...
there was one...
Is there?
Woman
Sorry.
there somewhere, right? Yeah, you.
I was wondering about your own relationship with horses. Like, did you have a body double for the riding scenes? Because the whole symbolism behind. I know who gives a shit about the symbolism. There's no meaning, but like horses have been used so much as symbolisms. And what's your opinion on horses? Do you like horses? Are you a pony boy?
I love them. I respect them so much. I'm really conflicted as well. I don't really like riding horses. The idea of riding a horse to me sounds horrible until you ride one. And then there's something very magical that happens. This sort of symbiosis or domination, exploitation. I don't know. I'm really lost. I don't have an opinion. I mean, I do. But when you experience it, it's a whole different thing. That's me. The horses in the film, well, it could be like this chimera, like this sort of, right? When you see a jockey running, you don't know if it's the jockey running or the horse running. There's like this very intimate association between both of them. And I like that because the film also talks about identity and about who you are, who you're not. And also the loop, right? There's something about this cycle. I mean, we can make many theories and find many symbols, but I think that they are impregnated on the screen without even naming them.
I just want to add that now that we've seen this film with Nahuel, I see that you've got a new film coming up with the fabulous André Téchiné.
It already came out, I
Don't
think.
you?
It came out already, I think.
I haven't heard of it being here. Directed by Téchiné?
Yes.
And with Isabelle Huppert.
Yes.
It hasn't appeared here.
I have no idea.
Okay.
What's your question?
I just wanted to mention that it's either been out or it's coming out, and I hope we can all see it, is the point. You don't know.
There are some other films to watch as well.
Okay. Tell us.
It's screened in
current,
Berlin,
new?
and it
Yeah.
was released in France, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
Okay. Anything else coming up?
yeah, many things.
All right.
I don't want to sell myself. Stop it.
All right. Fair enough.
Thanks for
All
being
right.
here.
Thank you.